some devastating moments where I remember waiting for this agreement, this wire to come through, and I had this tech team waiting, or they were going to leave. And I thought that if I lost them, everything was over. And I was, at the time, humiliated, sad, heartbroken. This wire has to come through. It didn't come through.
Jennifer, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am well. You know, I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk to you. We met probably about 2 years ago, and I was just very impressed with all the things that you've been involved in and that you were involved with at that time. I mean, you're kind of like this serial entrepreneur, and you know, I think sometimes you don't realize it, but I mean, in that one instance with your first company that I was familiar with, it was a huge opportunity, yet also had, in many ways, kind of a social impact as well, and I love that. And so I wanted to, you know, talk to you today and just have you kind of share your journey with us. You know, where you started and where you are today, and you know, it's just two friends kind of having a chat, and we'll see where this goes. So welcome to the show, and I'm very excited that you're here.
Thanks. So where did I start? So I went to the University of Michigan. I was actually pre-med. My plan was to be a doctor. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And I had spent all of my years investing my time and my goals into doing what was important in order to get into medical school and to be a great doctor, volunteering, hospital jobs, etc., studying, taking all the things, right? And when I was in school, I realized the truth was that I was really an entrepreneur. I constantly had big ideas that I really wanted to execute, and that I was able to still make impact and help people in the ways that I was passionate about doing without having to be in the confines of an office. And that's when I really realized that there was this problem-solving entrepreneurial spirit that I really needed to follow. So that's what I did. I have had my hands in building all kinds of different companies. But I think the biggest thing for me is knowing that having an idea, I hear people talk about this a lot. Are you following a passion? You don't really have to be following a passion. It's really just starts with an idea and the willingness to and discipline to execute. So I have done things from being in the media to having PR companies to founding a tech company. I'm working in education and schools right now. I'm working on launching a cosmetics line. And there is nothing that I won't touch, really, unless it'd be like accounting or something. I really don't want to do that. But I go into construction and doing all of that stuff, land development, and all kinds of things, which I've had my hands in too in my experiences. But I just think entrepreneurship is, you know, a lot of people don't know where to start, and the answer is Google, right? Yeah. Research what's out there, figure out what problem exists, look what's on the market to see what is currently offered to people to solve that problem, and then just start thinking of ideas as to how you can make a difference. And then, you know, I think people wonder too, from that point, how do I effectively get this done if I don't have that skill set? And I think that piece right there is what stops a lot of people. I don't know how, or I don't know someone who could. And the answer is Google will tell you a lot, and people will tell you even more. So you have to be willing to interview people, talk to people, network, ask questions, be honest about what you don't know, so you can learn and find out what you don't know to then know it.
Yeah. So I got to ask though, like, all right, so you were on this path to become a physician. What made you realize, like, ooh, I could do it. I could be an entrepreneur. I mean, what was it? Was it one particular event, or was it just, you know what, I don't want to be jammed up in an office. I'm kind of a free thinker, whatever. I mean, was it one certain thing?
So I finished all my pre-med requirements, and I was sitting in my last semester of a physics and then organic chemistry class and doing all that stuff, right? And I would constantly find myself just writing ideas in a notebook of different companies that I'd like to start, or different ways in which I wanted to make social impact. And I did realize about myself that I had a powerful voice. And that's when social media kind of just came into the market. So I graduated college a year early in 2007. And so Facebook had just come out when I was a freshman in college. And I saw that there was an opportunity there to get those ideas out there and connect with people around the world in ways that we never had access to before. And that was the moment for me where I kind of just said, I'm done. There's more. And I'm going to really regret not trying. And so my first step was I went into the media and I started interning at Fox News in Southfield, Michigan. And I started reporting and building a community and building a network and learning about all different kinds of people. And then I learned how to build my own company from there and produce my own television shows and host my own shows. And I saw that, I think a lot of people think that industries are so different. I think they're really not. Everything
No.
that you do in
Yeah.
one area can relate to a completely different area. I even talk about that in sports and business, right? In any facet of life where there is something that you want to pursue or build, it's really kind of a character and a focus thing. It's a commitment thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a willingness to learn and the courage to be wrong and to fail. That's the biggest thing. If you even think like of an athlete, every time you go out there, you have to be, no, it's a 50-50. You're going to win or you're going to lose, right?
Right.
And you got to be okay with both, meaning not like, oh, I lost, that's great. It's, I might lose and I will get up again and go again. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. So for me, when something comes my way and somebody says, I have an idea, or this is what I'm working on, I'm like, tell me more. Maybe I have an idea too, the desire to be a problem solver.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like that's a great attribute of yours. I know you've helped me with this platform in many ways, and just kind of sharing ideas, and I find that highly beneficial. You know, you mentioned, I mean, all the different areas that you've been involved with, and you talked about development and those kinds of things, and if my memory serves me correctly, like you did develop or build your own home.
I did. And what an education. I won't do that again. But I did. You know why? And here's why it's an education. Um, you are figuring out a budget, right? And you learn that people will, if you want to get it done, do it yourself. If you want to be efficient and effective, right? So I was in a position of collecting a lot of bids from different laborers, right, and different contractors, and noticing that I'd get different numbers for the same material from a variety of people. And I said, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to cut through that. I'm going to be the general contractor in this. I'm going to get all my own materials. I didn't know how to build a house, but I did it, right? And it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally in the dumpsters and rolling up the sleeves and carrying concrete and all kinds of crazy things. Managing a team, trying to make sure everybody's on time, making the right decisions, having the foresight of, what could go wrong if you put this here instead of there. So it was definitely an education that taught me a lot about managing teams, managing budgets, being effective and efficient in a company. And I actually use those skills and those experiences in the things that I built today.
I mean, I have yet to do that. I've built a number of restaurants, but when it comes time to a home, I haven't done it, and I don't know if it's a matter of like I'm sure I could, but I don't know, to your point, if it's a matter of do I want to, right?
Well, I think my personality, and this is probably a personality type, right? One, I don't take no for an answer. I realize like no, it's a no from you, but that doesn't mean no dead end. And I'm a
Right.
believer that if it doesn't exist, create it. And that is what I think about opportunities in general. When I graduated school, I said 2007, we're going into 2008, there was a market crash, right? So
Right.
people were really not getting hired. And I learned that lesson early on that, you have to create your own opportunities. You have
Yeah.
to pitch that idea. So when I decided what kind of home I wanted to have for my son, and I saw what was out there, and I was like, okay, that might not be attainable, but here's what I want. And this is how I approach everything. I'm going to start at the top with the dream, and I'm going to put it all out there. And then I'll tailor it down as I go. And that's how I even, built my technology too. We're going to put out the dream and then remove features as you go, and you test the market, you test the waters, and you sort of fine tune it. But I think that you got to try. You got to be willing to build it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting, like the lessons that you learned even through the adversity, right? Like 2007, 2008, that market crash was no joke. And it was a scary time. And then if you're graduating at that time, you're looking around and saying, who's getting hired? And what do I need to do? And I'm sure that created a lot of resilience within you, right? And that's a very good thing, and something for you to pull back on, in the future, and to get through some of the tough times. Jennifer, I mean, one of the things that I love to do is I love to interview real people who have gone through some challenges, in life and gone on to be successful. What were some of the more challenging times in your life that you've had to work through, and what did you learn, I guess, on the other side of that, and that's the real thing. I mean, we all go through tough times. I've gone through tough times, and I feel like every time I've gone through it, I've learned something along the way, and I typically have come out better as a result. And so, you can kind of think through that. And if you're comfortable, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about that, because I think that would be beneficial. Because, a lot of folks could look at, the things that you've done in Chicago and throughout your career and say she's got it all going on. But you know what? Everybody's got something, tough that they go through in life.
Yeah, so I have had some soul shattering times in the last few years, especially, with the pandemic, right? I launched a startup in the pandemic. I started February 2020, and I thought we were off to the races. We were doing great. I had investors lined up. I was, ready to implement and execute and hire a team and start developing a software. And then we went into lockdown in Chicago a week later. So I lost those investors, and it was a moment where I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to innovate and figure it out? And I lived on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Just contacting hundreds and hundreds of people, talking about my mission, promoting my mission and the solution and what it was that I wanted to achieve. I raised my first round of capital that way, from an angel investor who I did not personally know, right? It was somebody who aligned with the mission and believed in the solution and in myself. And so I was really thankful to do that. So as I did that, how it works in building technology, you go and you build your MVP, your minimal viable product, your earliest version, and then you go and you get beta users, people that are going to test your technology and tell you what's great and what's maybe not. I had 1,500 people test that. I was ready to keep building. Continuing to build costs money. Now I had a product that was amazing and advanced, and an awesome technology and plan. I had 1,500 people that were lined up who had used this and wanted more. I had a tech team that I wanted to hire and partner with that was the best in the world.
Right.
And it was going to require more capital. I lost $1 million 3 times in that time. Signed contracts, from 3 different investment groups. I lost it with the pandemic. I lost it with the Ukrainian war. There was a stock market crash, and a whole bunch of other things in between, because we had such tough times in the economy and in our country and our world. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God, you couldn't make it up. And so I had
Trust me, I understand that story.
some devastating moments where I remember waiting for this agreement, this wire to come through, and I had this tech team waiting, or they were going to leave. And I thought that if I lost them, everything was over. And I was, at the time, humiliated, sad, heartbroken. This wire has to come through. It didn't come through. And I think the lesson that I learned is, I've always been this way, is that honesty and transparency are the most important things you can be, because that is where your integrity comes from. And so when I just looked the problem in the face and said to them, I was so embarrassed to make that call and say, the money is not going to come. We can't move forward right now. And when I just said, listen, this is what happened. And then what can you do? You just keep trying. So here I am today, and I'm still trying more avenues. I haven't given up. But man, did that really kill me? That was a hard day.
Well, you know what? And I understand. And I mean, it's the key thing though is you're still trying. You haven't given up yet. It might be a different path. It may be a different investor. The solution is out there, right?
Yeah, and Phil, the one thing I really want to note there, sorry to jump in, is the power of the pivot. So it might not be this way, but if you pivot just a bit, you might arrive there in another way. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making a slight pivot. It's relative, but we're going to get to the end game one way or another. It might not be how we started, but we're going to get there.
No, I mean, I totally subscribe to the power of the pivot. And, I think we all go through that in life, where you might be 1 minute in corporate America and then all of a sudden, restructuring, and what do you do? And we find that, I found myself in that scenario numerous times. I found myself in, needing to pivot from an entrepreneurial perspective, where, maybe something's not going as planned, and it's like, hey, you know what? I've made the decision. I'm moving on, and you just cut your losses and you move quickly, or you pivot in a different direction. And I think in your situation, the dream is still viable. It's still real, and you're pivoting. In mine, in one of my scenarios, it was like cut it, chop it, and move on. And sometimes it's fast, hopefully, and then other times it drags on over a period of time because you're still dreaming, that you want it. But I think on the flip side, though, in retrospect, you've learned, and you've grown from that. And, if anything, you found a strength probably that you didn't know you even had. And that's very powerful.
Well, I think a lot of people, what I see in other businesses where somebody did not have that entrepreneurial path, is that they are very afraid of being wrong or of failing. And I'm like, geez, in entrepreneurship, we do that all day long. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and so it stops them from trying things, from innovating, from learning more. And I just think it's not like, let me rewind. It's not like we're just like, when I say we're wrong all day long, it's just that we take the chance, right?
Mhm.
We're willing to be wrong, and it's not going to stop us or make us sad. It's just, what that means is that's not the solution. I'm going to find another one.
Right.
So I just think that's important.
No, I think you said, you know, that may not be the direct path. And I think you mentioned something earlier and I wanted to definitely go back to that, where it's like, no does not mean never. It might just mean not right now. And how do we uh, keep the focus, keep the attention, and keep going after and pursuing our goals? And so I
Well,
think it's
discernment is important too, because I'm a believer, knock until it opens, but also, why isn't it opening? Maybe that's not
right.
your door, right? So you have to know how to have discernment, when to let that go, and that's when you make your pivot. It's not working because of these things. If you can identify that, then either you can make a change, or you say, this is not your person, this is not your outlet, this is not your resource, keep going. So that matters too.
I agree. I think, a lot of times as an entrepreneur, and especially in the roles that I've had, I've been very fortunate to work with a variety of people. Uh, and I think it's almost like a skill set that you develop over time, an
Mhm.
intuition like, this isn't a good situation or whatever. When is a time where like your gut has told you this is or this isn't the right thing to do? And was it that time like when you were in school where it's like, I've got to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to go for it? I mean, so often, we talk about listening to your gut. And I know a lot of times I've pursued opportunities where my gut may have said, don't. And probably 80% of the time, I've realized my gut was right.
Yeah. So
Unfortunately.
for me, my gut and my mouth tend to be connected. So if I have a feeling, I say it.
Right.
And I think that weeds through a lot of the process. If something concerns me or something feels off, I just face it head on and I will address it and I will say it and I put it out there and then I watch, the response. Um, if it's not involving another person, then I think of that feeling that's keeping me up at night and I just start researching
Yeah.
and then I figure it out and you get the answers. But I think one day at a time and yeah, take it as it comes. I guess that's really the only option.
Yep. 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 Definitely, win the day. Win the day. Talk to me a little bit, about what it's like and some of the I don't want to say the challenges that you've had as a woman in technology or whatever. Um, but I mean, I'm
That's a fair
sure.
question. That's fair.
Huh?
That's a fair question.
Okay.
um yeah, it's for sure a very male driven world. And I was creating a beauty technology with a lot of not a lot of, with all male engineers. And so I had to train male engineers how to do makeup. So here's the deal. Um, all of us have some sort of identity that um, can impact the ways in which we are received. That's life, that's human nature. And I think you have to believe in yourself more than you believe in the doubts that others might have of you. And you have to remember that if you are the one that's born with the idea, you are the expert, but also a humble expert. You come to the table with this is the dream in which I am the expert in and the vision. And I would love to hear from you how we can develop or enhance that vision. So it's just a constant learning process. There's no egos involved, and you also disarm others from having an ego as well. And speak your truth, right? So if somebody does confront you in a way that might be demeaning or condescending, say no, 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 and lay it straight. Tell them what it is. And if somebody treats you that way, then that's not who you do business with, and that's it. That's their loss. And when you start to know that about yourself, that it's their missed opportunity and your blessing, right? I always looked at it as, if somebody misses the boat on me, man, thank God for letting me dodge that bullet, right?
Right.
So I think it's kind of just like a perspective. If somebody treats you less than, um, that is not a reflection of your value or your ability or your talent. That is a reflection of their short-sightedness.
I love the humble expert and the mindset piece, right? Where I had another guest on the show previously, and he talked about the abundance mindset in many ways, like going out and that there's always that, there's always the a client that's out there. So if you're faced with rejection or whatever, you know what? Thank you. It just wasn't right for you at this moment, but there's still opportunity out there. And, I kind of hear that in your mindset too. And I think it's a key critical component, quite frankly, for entrepreneurs is having that mental toughness and that that mindset that, you know what, if this client isn't ready, or if this person isn't ready, thank you. That's okay. There's
Well,
more that
also,
are out there.
as an entrepreneur, you have to know your why. Why are you doing this? And
Yeah.
who are you serving? If you're in it to serve you, that's a very different mission and a very different approach. When I am building or doing anything, I am thinking about who am I serving, not what am I getting, right? I am representing a group that can benefit from what I would like to deliver to them, right? So when I have any type of interactions with anybody else that would be a part of a team, there, my client, my customer, whoever I'm serving is who is in my mind. It's not me. So there's no ego involved. It's like, hey guys, this is what I see them needing. And this is the challenge that they're running into. Let's solve this. Here's my idea. What do you think? Any better ideas? And that's the approach. It's always about who you're serving. That's it. If you're not going to serve people well, then why do it?
And it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of folks, when you say, what is my why, the first thing that they think about is, oh, my family, my situation, whatever, me. And then you kind of flipped the script and said, no, it's your client. I mean, that's why you're building. There's probably, like, I understand, but like the when it comes to developing your project or your product, it's about who is my why, who is my person or my client, and what is their benefit. And that could be very beneficial, I can see, to a lot of the folks who listen to the show, where you've got to put yourself in your client's shoes and really think through, like, how will they benefit from this? I know from a marketing perspective, I'm a terrible marketer. It's just not my thing. And I know you probably look at my stuff and you're like, Jesus, this guy needs some help. And you know what? I do. And I'm terrible at it, and I've never been good at it. But I think a lot of it is just, man, I gotta really put myself in, my client's shoes. Like, what do they need in order to hit their goals, and really think about every post and be intentional about that, and every interaction, be
Well,
intentional about that.
I think you just connection is really important,
Yeah.
and communication is really important. How are you connecting with your client or those you serve? How are you communicating with them? And authenticity. These are real people. People that you
Yep.
service are real people. They have real challenges, they have real feelings, they have real thoughts. What is going to prompt them to want your product or service against others? What is going to prompt them, forget others actually, what is going to prompt them to want that service? There is a need or a problem that they are trying to solve. And how can you be there to say, it's okay, I understand? And I always say the foundation of whatever I build is making people feel seen, heard, and understood. I see you. I get the problem. I hear you. I heard what your complaint was. Now I took what you heard and I took what I heard. I'm going to take that feedback and I'm going to deliver because I understand how you feel and I'm going to make it better. And so that is the approach and the ways in which you, I believe, best connect with your customer.
And I think that's right. And you grew up in an age, I think you grew up with social media, right? And some of
Oh,
us
kind
might
of.
be.
I'm not that young. I'd like to take credit for it. I was 18, right? We were the first. We were the first. We were so
Right,
Zuck and
but you
I
were
are the
right
same
there. I
age.
mean, some of us
Yeah.
were a
We were
little past that.
college freshmen at the same time. So there was just, a few schools that had Facebook at the time, colleges. It was, Harvard, University of Michigan, where I was, maybe some of the other Ivies, but it was just a handful of schools. And it started out like a sort of a high school yearbook. Stay in touch with your high school friends, connect with new kids on campus so that you could exchange notes or meet for study groups. That's how it started. And then it went to the whole wide
Yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that wasn't around when I was in school, thank God. But you know, it is different. And I mean, today it's the possibilities are endless, but yet at the same time, a lot of entrepreneurs have a difficult time as far as breaking through on social media, and making themselves heard, and and out there. And I think you just gave a master level course on how to do it in just a quick second.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
I grew my Facebook. I mean, I didn't even have a picture in the beginning, and I was probably one of the first kids in the world with 5,000 friends, right? And it was because I was generating dialogue, talking about different topics, and facilitating dialogue about different current events or things that were happening in the world where people could very freely exchange their thoughts. And I sort of moderated that, and that was a very effective way of growing a following, and that's how I started.
Wow. That's cool. That is cool. It seems like that's such a natural niche and fit for you.
Probably.
Uh, I mean, I'm
It
just
worked
saying,
out.
I'm not trying to like pigeonhole you or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, this seems to roll very easily for you. And I know you're heavily involved with technology as well. I mean, I'm sure it all kind of blends together. Um, but it's great. I mean, I guess with technology, what are some of the best things that have come from that, for you, like, with social media?
Yeah, I
Um,
think two things. Um, One is connection, right? The ability to really connect with people and for them to see you, and learn about you in ways that they uh, did not have an opportunity to do just by maybe knowing of you, right? So I think, let's say, Facebook gave me a voice. It gave me a voice that I didn't have before. I remember in high school, let's just make it very elementary, even though I'm talking about high school. Let's make it very young, right? Let's say you're in high school and people might have a perception of you, or people might talk about you. We're talking kids here, right? And now you have a platform on social media where you can come and express your views and your beliefs, or people could kind of follow your achievements, or things about your life that they would not have known about because they were listening to a particular crowd, or maybe never took the chance to get to know you. And I think there was a different people were less afraid to connect with people through a keyboard than they were in person. And so
right.
I started connecting with people who really didn't give me the time of day to talk to me in school, and were maybe not really nice to me. And then they started reading things that I wrote or views that I expressed. And all of a sudden they hopped in. And then, man, I had a lot of Facebook requests. And then the tides kind of turned. So I loved it for that opportunity to really have a voice, in a way that I hadn't had before.
Cool. Well, hey, as we're wrapping up, how can people reach you and get connected with you? What's the best way?
Sure, they can find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. Jennifer Christenson. Um, my emails are on all of those things as well. And I'd love to connect. I'm always happy to offer any type of resource that I have available to help somebody in their pursuits as well, or somebody bounce an idea off of me and maybe I could bounce one back off of you. But I'm here.
That's awesome. No, I've enjoyed following you on Instagram and getting to know you. I love the relationship that you have with your son, and he's a true, he's all boy. He's a character,
Oh,
and
he's sitting right there. He's staring at me with his math homework. But you know what? That's something that's important to note. It's the juggling of pursuits with parenthood, or
yeah,
whatever responsibilities people have, um, and that's challenging. That's really
yeah,
tough.
yeah,
Um, so those are the moments when they ask, when you said, why do you do it? And people think of their family and their kids. And all of that is true. That's deep down if you follow the trail. But you have to also have that piece of, who am I serving, right? You're not serving your
yeah.
kids when you're at work. You might think about it like, it's worth it.
Right, right,
I'm doing this so you can eat.
right.
Whatever the issue, whatever the situation is. But, it's wanting to be the best that you can be because you believe in your ability to create impact. And I think we all deserve, all of us, to have something that we are proud of. We all deserve to have an idea that we follow through on. I think we owe it to ourselves to create, to achieve, to see something through. And that could come in a variety of ways. It could be, in exercise, it could be in healthy eating, it could be in a relationship, or it could be in a company, but committing to yourself is really important.
I'm going to wrap it up there and just say I really appreciate the opportunity to have you on the show. I think you gave us and the listeners a ton of information and a lot of nuggets to run with in regards to social media, developing your brand, the right mindset, pursuing your passions, and it's been a pleasure. And I'm proud of you, and I'm proud to call you a friend. And I know you're going to hit that goal. Whatever goal you set out to achieve. I just know you're going to hit it. You've got that tenacity and that mindset and that BYA attitude. So get out there and make it happen every day.
Well, I would be so regretful if I didn't say this, but thank you too. And thank you for your friendship and the support that you've given me. I think the coolest thing about entrepreneurship is that, when people have really been in that grind, and it doesn't have to just be entrepreneurship, anybody that's sort of been in a grind or the pursuit of something understands that hustle and that feeling. And so you have this greater inclination to connect with people and have an open door because you know what it feels like. And so you have been that for me. So I'm very grateful for that. You have connected to me to a lot of people, and I've bounced a lot of ideas off of you. And I love that sort of entrepreneurship culture and mindset. So I value that, and I encourage everybody else to be the same way. Really be open to people. You never know where a conversation can lead. And man, it just makes the ride so much more valuable.
Indeed. Indeed. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Phil, have a good one. Thanks so much.